What's up, everybody? I'm Agent 9, and today we'll be playing the new UFC game by EA Sports. More specifically, we'll be creating a fighter to start a career with. I was really excited for this game, and I got it as soon as it came out, and so far it's been a pretty good mixture between super fun and really annoying, but that's to be expected in a fighting game. Let's go ahead and get started on this one. Alright, so you start off making your fighter by giving them a name, a nickname, and a hometown. So I went ahead and named my fighter Jon Snow, because why the hell not? And for the nicknames and the hometowns, there are really long lists of preset options that Mike Goldberg and Joe Rogan will actually call out during fights, which I think is pretty neat. I had no choice but to pick the Ghost as my fighter's nickname since he's Jon Snow, and they surprisingly didn't have the city I'm living in now, so I went ahead with my hometown, Spokane, Washington. And here you're going to see the different hair and facial options for the game, which I honestly think aren't very robust. I mean, with such a limited set to choose from, I personally think that it makes it kind of tough to create a fighter that feels really unique to me. And the same can be said for the game's body and tattoo options. I mean, every body type in the game, other than the bigger, tubbier dudes, to me, are really hard to distinguish. I mean, I'm glad that there's different options once again, but it's just not up to snuff for me personally. I wish that the body types were more dynamic, although I'm not sure how dynamic you can honestly make the body types look. But the tattoos, they're kind of cool. There's not a whole lot of options for tattoos. It's nice that you can tat your fighter up if you wanted to, but just like any game, it just kind of feels weird when you put tattoos. They don't look exactly right. I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain. I do like that you can pick different sponsors for your clothes again, and that's pretty cool. And as well, you can pick your fighting style for your fighter. I went ahead and chose mixed martial artist because it was the most well-rounded of the fighting styles as far as giving you a good balance between all your different stats. Alright, so now that we have a mixed martial artist version of Jon Snow, I think that we're ready to start training, which for me the training is a highlight in the career mode. It's one of the things I really enjoy because to me it sets you up for success in each fight. It teaches you how to do things that matter. So for instance, against this heavy bag, we're learning how to do just simple combos, and it gets progressively more and more intense between each fight. You learn how to do things like submissions and transitions while you're in the clinch or on the ground, and it really helps you out, and to me is one of the strong points in the career mode so far. It's also probably a good idea to note that each training you do, whenever you're finished, you'll get a specific belt based on how well you did in that training or how many points you received during that training. And the higher the belt you get, basically the more points that you'll end up earning in that skill that you're just training on. As well, collectively, if you do well on all of your trainings between each fight, you'll get a higher level of points that you can spend on whatever skills you choose. So say for instance you get 3 black belts from all 3 trainings that you do, you'll get more points that you can put into your right arm strength or your submission skills, rather than if you were to have only scored brown belts on each training, which I think is really cool. You can even go back and retry trainings before you completely finish them to make sure you perfect everything, which is, to me, very helpful and very awesome. So I'm going to be perfectly honest and say I didn't really like the last UFC game, and I think that EA did a pretty decent job with the fighting mechanics on this one. It is pretty complicated and complex, and you can't button mash. Maybe if you were playing on an easier difficulty or against an easier opponent or AI, you could get away with it and you might feel like you came out and you did a good job. But if you're playing on anything above normal, it gets pretty tricky pretty quick. And if you try to button mash, you're going to get gassed, you're going to get knocked out or submitted really easily. You're just not going to see it coming, and you're going to be like, well, what did I do? But you have to be careful, you have to have finesse, you got to watch your stamina, the whole 9 yards, and I think that it turned out pretty well, and it's honestly keeping me on my toes. Even the first fight that you go through in the Ultimate Fighter took me forever to beat. Took me way more many times than I'd really like to admit that I went through to finally beat this guy. But when I did, I felt so good about myself, and I think that they really did pull it off on this game. It feels good, and it looks really good as well. I mean, the next-gen graphics mixed with the updated fighting style, I really appreciate it. And just in case anyone was wondering what I'm doing now, I just finished the 3 trainings that you have to do before your first fight, and I'm in a sparring session with my coach or my sparring partner. And basically the whole point here is to survive the round without getting knocked out. And what I want to do is win by decision on this. Basically, I need to have the higher hit percentage, the most significant strikes, and I want to try to keep him from knocking me out, knocking me down on the ground, taking me down, or putting me into a submission attempt. Granted, he's not going to do the submission attempt or take me down just because we're doing striking only. But in a real fight, if it comes to decision, you want to have all of those things. You want to have the higher hits percentage, you want to have the most significant strikes, and you want to try to take them down and put them in as many submission attempts as possible because it looks better on you. It's really hard to win a decision, though. I mean, in the UFC, Dana White's always said, don't let it go to decision, you know. So you really want to try to avoid that. But I'm doing a pretty good job. I mean, I'm rocking this guy. He went wobbly there, and you can see right here that we did in fact win by decision. Jon Snow is the winner. Of course he is. Like I've said before, if you want to see more, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and please comment below. I'm going to be posting the next video later where we're going to go into our first fight in the Ultimate Fighter. Thank you guys very much for playing with me. This has been UFC. I've been Agent 9. I'll see you guys next time.